It was a cold, drizzly night in the small, sleepy town of Willow Creek. The dim glow of neon lights from Tony's pizzeria flickered ominously, barely cutting through the fog that rolled down the empty streets. Tony, the shop's owner, was wiping down the counters, ready to close up. Business had been slow lately, and nights like these made him question if keeping the shop open was worth it. Just as he turned off the open sign, the phone rang. Tony hesitated. He glanced at the clock, 11:45 p.m. Too late for a delivery, especially with the storm rolling in. But something compelled him to pick up. "Tony's Pizzeria," he answered, his voice tinged with exhaustion. A strange static buzzed through the receiver before a gravelly voice responded. "I need a large pepperoni pizza. Deliver it to 13 Hollow Lane." Tony froze. He knew that address. It was the abandoned house on the outskirts of town, a place surrounded by sinister rumors. Over the years, people had whispered about strange occurrences there. Lights flickering in the empty windows, shadowy figures seen at night, and a haunting scream that locals swore they'd heard on windless nights. "It's, pretty late," Tony stammered, trying to find an excuse. "I'll pay triple," the voice rasped. The offer was tempting, too tempting for someone struggling to make ends meet. Against his better judgment, Tony agreed. The drive to Hollow Lane was suffocating. The fog thickened as he approached the desolate part of town, and the trees lining the road loomed like skeletal sentinels. The headlights of his aging delivery car barely pierced the darkness. When he finally arrived at 13 Hollow Lane, his stomach churned. The house was even more foreboding in person. A decaying, two-story structure with boarded-up windows and ivy strangling its walls. A faint light flickered in one of the upstairs windows, casting eerie shadows. Tony grabbed the pizza box, his hands trembling. As he approached the door, the wind seemed to carry a low, mournful wail. He knocked twice. The door creaked open on its own. "Hello," Tony called out, his voice echoing. No response. Just silence, heavy and oppressive. "Your pizza's here," he tried again, stepping cautiously inside. The interior was as decayed as the outside, peeling wallpaper, broken furniture, and a pervasive smell of dampness and rot. A single candle flickered on a table in the middle of the room. Beside it sat an envelope with his name scrawled on the front in shaky handwriting. Tony picked it up and opened it. Inside was a note. Deliveries must always be completed. Upstairs, his instincts screamed at him to leave, but something, a mix of curiosity and fear, propelled him up the creaking staircase. Each step groaned under his weight, and the air grew colder with every step. At the top, a door stood ajar, revealing a room bathed in an otherworldly glow. Tony pushed it open, and his breath caught. The room was empty except for a large, ornate mirror mounted on the wall. But the reflection wasn't empty. In the mirror, Tony saw himself holding the pizza box, and behind him, a tall, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes. He spun around, but the room was empty. When he turned back to the mirror, the shadowy figure was closer. Panicking, Tony dropped the pizza box and bolted for the stairs. But as he reached the top step, the air grew heavy, like invisible hands were pressing against him. He stumbled, falling to his knees. A voice, deep and guttural, echoed through the house. "You were warned, Tony. Deliveries must be completed." Suddenly, he felt an icy grip on his ankle, dragging him backward. He clawed at the floor, his screams swallowed by the darkness. The next morning, the townsfolk found Tony's car abandoned outside 13 Hollow Lane, the engine still running. Inside the house, they found no trace of Tony, just an untouched pizza box sitting on the table. The only thing out of place was the mirror upstairs, now cracked, with faint handprints smudged across the glass. And in the weeks that followed, Tony's Pizzeria received strange, late-night calls. The voice was always the same. Deliver to 13 Hollow Lane. No one ever dared to accept.